Hey everybody, welcome to today's admin chat for Executive Secretary Magazine. My name is Kemetia Foley. I am a speaker, a trainer, an executive assistant, writer for the magazine. And today I just wanted to do a topic that is probably more relevant than I could have possibly ever anticipated when I took it on. Today's topic is Zoom Out, Practices of Self-Care in the Middle of Crazy. So the first thing that we really need to talk about is what does that mean, self-care? Everybody has a different definition of self-care. Some people look at self-care as self-indulgence. Some people look at self-care as a regularly scheduled, routinely placed time out for oneself. And it comes under all kinds of facets, and I think it's really kind of subjective to the individual. So we'll cover a whole bunch of different topics when it comes to self-care. One of the things that brought up this topic actually came up in a recent session that I was doing at IAAP Summit when we were discussing, actually the topic was, that topic was you can't always get what you want, sometimes you get what you need. But one of the things we talked about in that session were 4 things that you can do to help you have a break in your day or some balance in your day that on a continuous basis. If you do these 4 things, you may have some improvement in your mood, your diet, your health, overall mental well-being. There's no statistics behind this. I'm only speaking from my own experience. And the first of this, we'll just cover those 4 things real quick, which is obviously drinking enough water. 2 is snacking during the day on healthy, energizing snacks and trying to avoid sugar, which is probably the hardest thing for me of all, even more so than giving up coffee. So when I drink water, I drink a glass of water, 2 glasses of water for every cup of coffee that I drink. So for those of you who know that I have a love of coffee that it's a little embarrassing. But anyways, we're talking about self-care. So drinking enough water for your body is always so important. And if you're somebody who either talks a lot on the phone or has to get up and move around a lot in your office, or is in a really climate-controlled office and has a lot of aircon, or in the winter has tremendous amount of heat blasting, or even if you're just running a fan at your desk, you need to drink even more water because that's drawing out the air around you. So just be really conscious of that. Second, like I said, was to eat healthy snacks during the day. Try to keep some, maybe when you pack your lunch, bring some fresh fruit or some almonds or some raisins, things that are going to give you some energy. The things that are not going to be detrimental, as say a donut or a candy bar. So try to keep those things in mind. And the 4th thing was, so I said the first one was water. The second one was eat healthy snacks. The 3rd one was to get up and walk around. So in the midst of all this, also happens to be August desk escape 3 times a week. Get up, get away from your desk for 30 minutes, walking outside your building. Hopefully, whether you work from home or whether you work in an office building, get up, take a picture of where you're at, and get up and get out and do those things. And then, of course, sleep. Sleep is so important. We kind of push the edge when we do that. Trying to get away from, trying to get a regularly scheduled sleep in. Get a good sense of where you are when it comes to sleep. Are you binge watching a lot of television or Netflix on your phone, which is a very small screen? Not good for your eyesight either. Are you using eye drops when you're working during the day? So are you, if you have a lot of eye strain, are you using eye drops to relubricate your eyes? Are you taking a break from your screen? Are you getting up again and walking around? So those were just some basic things we just kind of touched on. But coming from experience of late, what I mean by zoom out, practicing self-care in the middle of crazy, really comes down to two things for me. What is, how do you define crazy? Well, the way that I define crazy in my experience is when there are so many priorities on the calendar that it's impossible to focus. Not impossible, but really challenging. So when you're in the middle, and I use this example, let's just take a great example, annual meeting. So if your company has an annual meeting that you're responsible for some piece of, or perhaps if you're working in the C-suite, you're heavily involved in it, not only for your CEO's schedule, but all the board things, all the materials that need to go. You're perhaps assisting other administrative staff to get their reports pieces into the board book. So let's just take that as an example. And what I mean by zoom out is normally if you have big events going on, we're always going to have things that come into an administrative professional's calendar that we can't control. That's going to happen at least once a day, at least. So if you know that you have things that are going to impact you, that are cyclical, that are a given, when when the like the example we're going to use, when the annual meeting is, then let's just use that for the rest of this admin chat to go through how you can zoom out to do some self-care in the middle of crazy. So the example I like to use is taking the last month. So if your annual meeting is in October, so annual meetings for most companies tend to fall in September, October time frame, or April, May. So if you have an annual meeting for your organization, so let's say we take it in October, and your organization has its annual meeting every October, and it's not going to change. It's scheduled out. It's on the books for the next 2 years. Let's do 2 years out. And we're in August right now, which means that all the people that you need materials from are probably on vacation, if they haven't already gotten them to you. But to zoom out means to take a pull back from when you're in the middle of it and look at what is the end thing that has to get done. So backing that up. So if you are departing, your team is departing on a certain date, all the tasks in between that have to be fulfilled, whether it means travel, hotels, you're working to coordinate that with your meetings director. Then you need to look at, when do I need to leave? Do I have to travel? What hours do I need to put in that week prior? So you're backing that up, those weeks in advance, and saying, if you really are being legit about what you do, there's going to be a last minute, at least one or two things that come through that are going to require extra time. So what I mean by zooming out is look at your own personal calendar. Do you have things that aren't movable on your calendar for your family, for yourself, for your kids? Meaning, is there a back to school night? Is there a doctor's appointment it took you 4 weeks to get in the door for? Are there things that you have to meet with more than one person to do with your family. So it requires an external coordination of calendar. And you're trying to also be present for those last minute things that are coming due for you in this particular conference. So what does that mean? That means when you're working on the calendar and you're having your one-on-one with your team, you need to make sure that you are communicating that zoom out, that you are communicating that I know that you're going to have last minute things that have come up, and you're reassuring the team that you're going to be available or take care of things when they need to be taken care of, or that you will have worked out a backup to take care of them, so that the things that involve you personally, your life outside of the job, do not have to be canceled or moved unless absolutely necessary. Absolutely positively necessary. And if you have a good team that you work with, this shouldn't be an issue. Not everybody has that kind of latitude, nor does everybody have a team that they work with. Some EAs have this entire responsibility for their C-suite executives for the whole event. They have the travel, the hotel, the speech writing, the social media, the expense reporting, the board book, the board report, the board calls, the pre-calls, the financials, all that piece that comes in to coordinate sometimes falls on one EA. So how do you zoom out and take care of you? Let's go back to what I talked about in the beginning of our admin chat. If we're doing it just for this year, say we're looking at from now to October, and you know what you have on your calendar, and you make sure that you're looking at your calendar, your spouse's calendar, your kid's calendar, your partner's calendar, the calendars of the team that you support, and look and take time and see what's coming. Zoom back out. See what's coming down the road so that you can move and shift priorities for yourself. For yourself. So perhaps in the future, you do your very best not to book anything the month of October. In the organization that I previously worked for, we were restricted from taking vacation the month prior to our annual meeting. Makes sense because you need all hands on deck at that point. You're going to be loading a truck, you're going to be doing shipments, printing, all the last minute things that need to happen for those kinds of events. So looking at your calendar against theirs and making sure you're communicating exactly what is on your calendar. I just need you to be aware that I have this appointment that's taken me 4 weeks to get. Make sure you're having that conversation in your one-on-one. You know, if you're just new to your organization, it's even more important that you do that. Maybe you have a peer admin that can help you with the wording for that conversation, or maybe you just request a meeting to talk calendar for 30 minutes and make sure you have all the questions regarding that calendar, yours and the people that you are supporting, written down so that you can support that. So you can have those questions ready to go and get the answers that you need. And then be prepared. If somebody comes back to you and says, the conflict arises, this is where having not only a procedures manual for your desk, procedures that you do, or peer-to-peer training in your team that will really help you. I have talked to EAs who are the only person in their organization to be the only EA, and I know that some of them will take this work home with them when they're sick. Many EAs do that, PAs, it's disheartening, and I understand it. I mean, the world of work has changed, right? It's changed tremendously. It used to be that we weren't so necessary, so it's kind of a double-edged sword. We weren't so necessary that we had to, when we were out sick, we were out sick. And now the mixed message is, don't come in sick, but you know that there are people coming in sick because they feel they must. And then the third piece of that is, if you're sick, work from home. So make sure you have that conversation with the people you support. What are their expectations going into, if it's not a policy, say there's not a set policy, going into this stretch of time when it is so busy, and hopefully you don't get sick because you're doing all the other things prior to try to keep yourself healthy. I know teams that keep entire bottles of vitamin C in their work areas. Like, it's a shareable bottle of vitamin C as they work towards a conference, because they're trying to keep their staff from being worn down and getting sick right before a conference. So calendar management is key. Communication with your team and the person or persons that you support is key. But the third part now is the self-care. So we've taken care of anticipating potential roadblocks to self-care. We've anticipated what could cause you to go off schedule or or ramp up the amount of stress and effort that you have to, load into your work. And now we need to talk about the self-care part. Now, there are some fantastic resources for self-care. There's another admin chat that was done about self-care not long ago by Julie Perrine. So if you go onto the Executive Secretary Magazine admin chat channel on YouTube, you will see an additional YouTube video from Julie Perrine about self-care. And I actually have, I'm going to look down here at my phone for a second because I have this great article I want to share with you guys that just got sent to me. Let's see if it'll come up here. I hope it will. Okay, so this is a relevant piece. There's such a theme of self-care right now, especially in the United States. Today is August 5th when I'm recording this. There have been 2-3 mass shootings in the United States in the last 3 days. This is not a political commentary. This is just what to do. This article is 8 ways, and I will post this on adminrenegade.com and on the Executive Secretary Magazine group in Facebook. 8 ways to care for yourself when a tragedy is in the news, because that can weigh in our heads more than we realize. So that self-care piece now, we talk about sleep, nutrition, affection, love and affection. Are you having time for the love and affection with your family and the people that you love around you? That's a form of self-care that's probably not talked about because it's kind of like tee-hee-hee, but it's important. The next piece would be nutrition, sleep, love and affection, finding something that brings you joy. What are the things that bring you energy and joy? So for me, it's music, right? I love music. I love marching band. I love to watch the Drum Corps International videos. Um, I was a marching band person in high school, so I really enjoy seeing the performances. I love any kind of musical, um, those sorts of things, things that bring you energy, the things that bring you in energy. Going to the beach for a walk brings me energy, but it also soothes me down. Reading is for some people. Going to get your nails done, going to get your hair done, taking care of something on your to-do list that's been put on the back burner way too long. So whether it's a mammogram, whether it's a dentist appointment, whether it is getting your flu shot, that is a form of self-care because traditionally EAs, PAs, we put everybody else first. So what is it on your list that you haven't taken care of that you keep saying I need to get to do that? So for me this week, and I'm sorry that the camera is shaking so much. You can see we just moved into our house and there's nothing on the walls yet. The thing this week for me is getting the oil changed in my car. Put it off, put it off, put it off. And all that does is give you stress about something that you haven't gotten done. So that for me is going to be a self-care thing, and it combines in with another self-care thing related to music. Because I'm going to drive to my brother's. We're going to go, and he's gotten me tickets to see Yo-Yo Ma, somebody I've always wanted to see. And so self-care. What are the other things you guys know that I do is color. What are the things that bring you joy? Is it visiting nieces and nephews? Is it picking up the phone and calling somebody? So, zooming out, what are the things that you need to do for you? And if you can't do it right now, is it something, a practice that you could put into place? Maybe when you look at the end of your calendar year, is there time that you have downtime where you can take a breather, lay everything out, and like set aside some time for you? I used to host a thing called Dish and Dessert at my home in Virginia. We would have a group of 10 to 12 business women at my home from different facets. Not everybody was IAAP or an admin or an EA, and bring together people from different point of view just to get to know each other, to try to build and extend my network. I know that there are friends of mine who belong to sororities. They have charities that you work for. Maybe that's the self-care that means something to you. Self-care is subjective, so be fair about that when you're looking at it. Some people, for self-care, is just, I need 30 minutes at the end of the day with complete quiet and a glass of wine. If that's self-care for you, that's your definition of self-care. I think my own experience has been that self-care is something that has to be modified to not be self-indulgent. So that kind of falls behind if your day is, your self-care is at 30 minutes of every day you need peace and quiet to drink 3 gallons of wine, that might be a different story. But I'm not saying that that's for you to decide. The real important thing here is, how do we take time to do better for ourselves? We have to zoom out from where we are right at this moment, take a breath, back it up, and look at what's coming. Where can I fit in time, something for me get my hair done, get a massage, go see a friend, go to lunch with a friend, go see my mom, call my sister, sleep late, things that have to be scheduled into our calendars. It's a real drag sometimes to have to schedule relaxation. But at the same point, with EAs and PAs and some of the most busy people I know, they have to do it or it doesn't happen. And then stick to it. Don't bump it. Don't bump that self-care. Do not do it. I'm going to tell you one last story and then we'll close out for the afternoon. Okay, so I'm back. I need to go find this book. So this book that I have in my hand, Simple Abundance, Day Book of Comfort and Joy, is old. Okay, it was published in, I want to say 1995. Originally, yes, 1995, by Sarah Von Brethnack, and I'm probably not pronouncing her name correctly. But there's this great, it's a daily readings book. It's not religious. You know, you can get it on Kindle or probably on the bargain shelf at Barnes & Noble or wherever now. But I have found it to be invaluable for me in terms of self-care. So there's this great thing in here which prompted the zoom out portion of this admin chat called A Net for Catching Days. It's the August 3rd reading, ironically. And basically what Sarah is talking about here is the universal to-do list and putting ourselves first on the to-do list. Right? How many of us do that? And so on this universal to-do list, she has the suggestion that you take 20 minutes each Sunday and sit down with your calendar, a pad, pen, and yellow highlighter. So for those of you folks that are more digitally oriented or use Google Assistant or Alexa for this, modify appropriately for your needs. Take a preliminary look at the following 3 weeks. In order to cast a net that really catches days, you need to consider all the tasks you do in 1 week, both professional and private. And she has a universal to-do list as this: work, errands, children, appointments, shopping, correspondence, meaning if you got to pay any bills, which is online now, any phone calls you need to make, any cleaning at home, anything you need to take care of at home, family, friends, church, community, and personal. And if you don't block out the time on the calendar for yourself first, this universal to-do list will take up every moment of your day and your week. And before you know it, your body has broken down and you've gotten sick. And inevitably what will happen is your body will make you stop. If we don't take care of ourselves, our bodies will do it for us. And I can count on my hand right now at least 5 really good EA friends who would vouch for that. Self-care in the middle of crazy. Self-care in the middle of crazy. So maybe your crazy is that your kids have 3 different leagues at 3 different schools, and you're coming up on a busy time, and that's your crazy. And your self-care, my suggestion for EAs in this position is you've got to carve time out for you somewhere in there to find something that's going to refill your gas tank. You've got to put it on the calendar, and in most cases, you've got to turn your phone off for it to really work, right? To really get away from the desk, from the job, from people's need for your time, and that's okay. But time for yourself is true self-care, in my opinion. I'm not, this is just a suggestive admin chat about how to take care of ourselves better. We know the things that we are supposed to do. We already all know what we're supposed to do. I know that I'm supposed to eat more fruits and vegetables and drink more water and get more exercise and eat less ice cream. But am I putting on the calendar time to exercise? Am I putting on the calendar? Am I looking far out from now? So if I don't take those 3 weeks out and back into my day, time for myself, the day is gone and I haven't had time. I'm too tired to read. I am grumpy. Maybe I am worn down. So take that time whenever you feel it's appropriate. Maybe it's not right now. Maybe you have some time. Most of the EAs I know have time at the holiday or right before the holiday or some kind of time when all of their family is out of the house. And or grab your phone and just make a list of the things that you want to do that make you happy that you haven't had a chance to do in forever. January is the time that I put a list of the things that I want to get to this year that make me happy. It inevitably includes a trip to a symphony, a baseball game, a hockey game, a trip to see friends, a conference, something that brings you joy. And make sure you have it on the calendar and do it. Do it for you, because that's really self-care at its finest. And then if self-care for you means physical health, address it. Get to a doctor, get a checkup, get your annual visits done. If self-care for you means that you need more sleep, work it out so you get more sleep, but don't put it off. If self-care for you is looking for a different job because the job that you're in brings you, makes you unhappy, for whatever reason, you're not paid enough, you're not happy there, you're not challenged, it's a toxic environment, or maybe you're just bored because you've mastered it, then self-care for you is saying, well, I need to find another job. I need to find something more. Is that really important to me? So it has a different definition for all of us. But it's doing the things physically, mentally, and sometimes spiritually, if that's your thing, that make you have a life, that you're living life, and that you're not all about your work and everybody else. Take time for you. And so that's why I say to you, can't always get what you want. Sometimes you get what you need. Have a great week, everybody.